From the Sunshine State, this is Tampa Bay's Tan Talk.
Good morning. Welcome to Dispatch Radio. This is Brandon Jones, and we're here to catch you up on the news, talk about the latest, greatest of what's going on and the different topics, whether it be politics, religion, health, and even pop culture. With me, as always, the infectious disease guru, the prognosticator of political banter, Robert Harriman. How are you this morning, Bob?
Brandon, good to be here. How you doing?
It's another wonderful week. I've enjoyed some vacation time away from things, so we have another busy show for you. We are experiencing some technical difficulties they're working on right now with our phone lines, trying to get our phones up and running here to get a couple of our guests on. We have, bottom of the hour, we have Dr. Chan from the University of Yale. She's going to talk about some of the infectious disease news story that's been going on. We mentioned the outbreak of cholera in Haiti. We mentioned it briefly last week, and she's going to give us an update on that, I believe, Bob?
Yep. Yeah, she's the lead writer of this 60, 70-page report that's saying that the UN is responsible, and I'm going to chit-chat with her for a little bit.
All right, and then near the close of the show, we're going to have Stephen Solomon back with us. He's going to give us an update, give fans an insight on what to expect at this upcoming Comic-Con. The Tampa Comic-Con is next weekend, the 23rd, 24th, and 25th at the Tampa Convention Center. They have all sorts of great guests. He's going to catch everybody up on that and give information from their website, how to get tickets, and that kind of thing. So we're going to start our show off this morning with Dr. Susan McManus from USF. She's going to talk some politics and election stuff with us. We're trying to get the phones up and working here. I don't believe we have her on the line quite yet, so Let's jump to the main headline right now in the news. Pretty much anywhere you go right now has probably got to be Egypt. Now, we've been talking about Egypt for years, dating back to prior to Mubarak, when unrest began. The Coptic Christians there in Egypt had rose up to Mubarak and tried to basically protest and try to seek out equal rights and justice and those kinds of things. And, of course, as we know, that sparked major protests and ultimately led to Mubarak's upheaval. And now we're seeing the same kind of thing happen again with Morsi. And Bob, I mean, do you see any real hopes of things settling down anytime soon?
No, I mean, just like I said on our first episode of Dispatch Radio, I mean, the place is chaos, and it's one thing I have to say, though, is there is nothing the United States can do to resolve this problem. As much as the government thinks they have this great ability, it's not going to happen. And I agree with, believe this or not, strange bedfellows, Rand Paul, John McCain, and Lindsey Graham in this case, that, we shouldn't keep on funneling money into the country. It's a coup. Our laws say you do not give money to a country that's experiencing a coup.
Yeah, I think the latest story there is talking about having some protesters pinned down and things like that. Folks, let me break this down for you really simply. There's really about 3 or 4 factions in the population as far as the makeup goes. The Muslim Brotherhood rose to power during the official first election. They had implemented a Muslim Brotherhood head, Morsi, and in turn just was a little more fundamental Islamist than maybe some had liked. Maybe there had been some different oppression of some different groups, but it is not significantly different than what was happening under Mubarak. Just different names and faces are getting oppressed, different things are happening, but for the most part, now that the Egyptian military, which basically asked for United States backing, wants to make sure they use the money that we give them to out Morsi, are now going to try to find ways and juggle implementing someone else. And the reality is, if it's so fractured and divided into thirds the way it is, I don't know how we can put anybody in place. Because whoever we put in place, 2/3 of the population is going to be upset about it, right? I mean, that's...
Well, I mean, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but should we be putting anybody in place?
No, first off...
Shouldn't they decide?
Well, and that's what they did before. Right? We asked for an election. We got an election.
Right.
but somehow that's not up to snuff, and we feel like we have to get involved again. I just don't understand.
No, I don't either, and I can't see how it's going to benefit anybody by us getting involved, and including the U.S. taxpayer.
And when we're sending experts, Lindsey Graham, John McCain, and those are, quote, our representatives to go over there, and they don't even know how bad things are, and Lindsey Graham comes back, as we talked about last week, going, it's way worse than I didn't know it was this bad, and this is going to be bloodshed in the streets within a week. Well, are you watching the news with the rest of us? I mean, no offense, but let's spell it out for you. TheGlobalDispatch.com. Check out a couple stories that we've posted over the last year. They're executing Christians regularly. This isn't even remotely hard to find news. It's everywhere in the Arab world. So it is interesting to see now that the mainstream press, as we'll just nickname them, piggyback on that, has come along to join us in covering this. And I just ask for prayers for these folks, all sides, some sort of peace. Something can happen in this area. I just don't see it happening anytime soon. Bob, what should we go to now as we're still trying to work on? For those of you that are just now catching up with us here, we're having some phone line issues. We can't have Dr. McManus on quite yet. We're waiting to get her on the phone. We're going to talk some politics and that kind of thing. And we have a lot of guests at the end of the show, but we're having a lot of technical difficulties this morning kicking things off. So with that, what else we want to go to real quick, Bob? You got anything at the top of your list?
Well, yeah. There was one report that I did on Monday. There's a case of another case of a child right here in Florida that contracted the brain-eating amoeba. Global Dispatch, by the way, was one of the first news sources to cover this.
I'm gonna correct Bob there. Bob was the first. He doesn't always want to pat himself on the back. He's 24 hours ahead of CNN's and Fox and all the others. They just don't want to use us as a source.
Yeah. So anyway, there's Glades County, that's in southern Florida. There's a 12-year-old named Zachary Reyna, and he contracted this deadly parasite, but much like another 12-year-old, Kaylee Hardig, he is in critical condition, but he appears to be recovering, and it appears that this experimental drug may be a large part of it.
All right. That's incredible. And you know what, folks? If you haven't joined us the last few weeks, you can check out Bob's coverage of this. He has done a great job of catching people up, and technology has done a fantastic job of giving these folks that contract this hope, because before there was not. So